Welcome to the Fresh Start Family Show. I'm your host, Wendy Snyder, powerful parenting educator and family life coach. And together we are going on a journey to help you expand your heart, learn new tools, and strengthen your family so you can build the family legacy of your dreams. Take a deep breath and get ready to be poured into with some fresh start inspiration. Let's do this. Hello, families, and welcome back to a new episode of the Fresh Start Family Show. I'm your host, Wendy Snyder, powerful parenting educator and family life coach. And Terry's on the show again today. Welcome to the show, Terry.
And I'm your co-host.
Yeah.
Terry Snyder.
Dad extraordinaire, creative extraordinaire. We love you so much, Terry. We're so happy to have you here. We kicked off the new year talking about our biggest takeaways from 2025. We set the tone for our word of the year for 2026. And now we're just kind of cruising through what my plan for this year is to kind of cruise through the book and the chapters. And
Fresh Start Your Family.
Fresh Start Your Family coming out May 2026. Pre-orders are officially live, which is so exciting. Thank you so much for pre-ordering. Pre-orders mean so much to authors. So thank you so much, listeners, for pre-ordering and getting your copy reserved nice and early. We have so many great bonuses for you when you do that. But I thought it'd be fun to just journey through kind of most of the chapters. We're not going to be able to get to every single one because there's 24 chapters. But today we're going to kind of move into so last time we recorded, we talked about changing our paradigm. That's how the book starts out. Section 1 is all about updating your lens and your legacy. So changing your paradigm, starting to see parenting from this lens of updated modern psychology, understanding that kids are communicating when they misbehave. It doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It just means they're communicating. And a chapter within that section is really around reframing the way we see strong-willed kids. And since that has been such a huge part of our journey of really being able to see our strong-willed daughter from a perspective of her communicating her need to feel powerful, the concept of raising a future leader versus trying to get a kid's strong will in check, or when she was 3 or 4 years old, really so many people around us were telling us that we just needed to break her will to make sure that she knew who was boss. If we didn't get a handle on it early, then we'd be in trouble. We just got all these really weird, twisted messages. But it's been such a journey, right? To be able to fully trust and lean into the concept of embracing this strong will about her immense need to feel powerful that comes out often in the realm of pushback and not just accepting things, which we still see really strongly now that she's 18 years old. But we've just been able to change our paradigm so deeply to it's just not dangerous to us anymore. It's just part of who she is. And we've seen these beautiful benefits of that strong will within her. But I thought just to kick off our conversation today, I would read just the intro to Chapter 3 of the book, which is in Section 1. It's called Raising Your Beautiful Cactus Kid. This is fun, babe. You haven't even heard any of the book yet. So this is
No,
kind of a
I was
treat for
waiting
you
to get
too.
it in my hands. But yeah, this is a little this is when you get a little leaked trailer online for your favorite
Yeah.
show or something. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And so here's Chapter 3. Here's a little sneak peek intro. So it's called Raising Your Beautiful Cactus Kid, The Truth About Strong-Willed Kids. Strong-willed humans are a rare and extraordinary breed. I know this because I am one. I also birthed one. And for the last 17 years, look, I'm still in the final round of editing. That needs to now say 18, babe. We have an 18-year-old. How crazy is that? Okay. And for the last 18 years, I've been given the sacred honor of raising her. Just like there are different breeds of dogs, each with their own quirks, strengths, instincts, and needs, humans are no different. Well, of course we're different because we don't have tails and can talk, but in terms of being beautifully, uniquely created for good, we are all the same. Our family has always been one full of dog lovers, and after raising several Labrador puppies, I can tell you one thing for sure. Labs love food. No matter how much they eat, they are always on the hunt for more. It's endearing and wildly frustrating at the same time because their constant hunger leads them into mischief, stealing food, begging at the table, getting into the trash, and even swallowing socks. On the other hand, our adorable but high maintenance husky, Yuki is her name, could care less about food. She's motivated by something entirely different: freedom. Huskies are designed to run, to feel the wind on their face as they pull a sled across the Alaskan tundra. And while we love her for her majestic beauty and wild spirit, we learned the hard way that if the front door was left even slightly ajar, Yuki was gone in an instant, chasing the thrill of escape like it was her life's mission. One time, she bolted across busy roads only to be found in a Target parking lot, sitting in a shopping cart of a kind stranger feeding her pepperoni. Do you remember that, babe? Were you
Yeah.
home for that?
I don't think so.
I don't think you were either. I almost lost my mind. I didn't write about the parenting moment in that, but yeah, it was a whole thing. Children, much like our beloved furry companions, are wired uniquely and beautifully. Some are driven by connection, some by adventure, and others, like our strong-willed ones, by power. They aren't just here to blend in, they're here to lead. If you're reading this book, chances are you're raising one of these extraordinary humans. I know this because in my experience, parents don't usually seek out this level of heart expansion and personal growth unless they've been knocked to their knees a few times. It's often the parents of strong-willed kids who find themselves willing to do the deeper work, not because they're failing, but because their child is calling them into something greater.
It's
And
beautiful.
the chapter goes on and on and on. We talk about really the true characteristics of like a true strong-willed kid. I go on to teach about the difference between a kid in a power surge stage of life, which is like the kid that like kind of was chill and mellow for maybe a few years, or even usually a lot of times you'll hear people say, this kid wasn't like super strong-willed, and then all of a sudden, usually between the ages of 2 and 6, and then again in the tween and teen years, power surges hit hard. Like a kid will start pushing back, testing boundaries, um, and like really becoming more air quotes difficult in those power surge stages of life. So we saw that in Taryn at like 14, right? But the true strong-willed ones who really, again, like I believe are angels in the world because they call us into like greater learning, healing, and like you really do get to develop the skills of patience and um unconditional love, right? Like when you're around someone that pushes back so much, but you can feel it from birth. And that was with Stella, right? Like we could just feel this strength about her like strong opinions about things, even from when she was a baby. Like you could really just sense it. So the thing I thought would be good about today is to just talk about what it was like for us to really change the paradigm that these kids aren't problem kids. And I was laughing because or just laughing to myself, but when we were here for Christmas service, there was a song that was talking, it was like a really cute song the worship band did, but it was like, Jesus, oh, what a wonderful child, right? That one.
Yeah.
Jesus. And then went on to say, so lowly, meek, and mild. And it was cracking me up because in general, in culture, we have painted the picture that if you are a lowly, meek, and mild child, you're really good. Now, obviously, we're talking about Jesus. We understand Jesus is amazing. I kind of secretly think Jesus was a strong-willed
Oh, I
child.
absolutely think so too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But in general, culture really tees it up as if you are, and you even hear people say this about babies. They'll say, she's such a good baby because she doesn't cry, right? Like I hear that all the time. Now, we had two very colicky babies who cried like way more than normal babies their first 3 months. But like, isn't that interesting that culture tees it up as like, if you don't cry, if you don't fuss, you are a good baby. If you do, like, it's just, and then the lowly, meek, and mild. So from the beginning of time, it appears that we've painted this picture that the kids that push back, or the kids that cry, or the kids that aren't this like silent, submissive type are not the good ones. And it's just, I think that was flipped on its head when we got this opportunity to raise this daughter from the beginning, that we got to just lean into like why it was such a blessing. And so that to us was like the ultimate fresh start, right? Like
Yeah.
this class that I'm teaching on January 28th, when we talk about an empowered parenting reset, like this is the type of fresh start that is like from a legacy perspective is a big deal. If everyone in your legacy, your mom, your grandma, your great grandma, like, maybe they joke that, oh, you look at that, you have a 3-year-old. That's a lot now. That's payback for what you were when you were a kid. Like you hear that a lot in parenting stories. And it's heartbreaking because it's just, again, it's teeing up this concept of like, you were a pain in the ass and now you get payback. You're going to have a pain in the ass kid instead of like, yeah, you had a strong voice from the beginning. So it's no surprise that your daughter, we always say the apple doesn't fall far, like, or your son, like, yeah, you've got this. You're going to learn how to see them in this healthy light or whatever. It's like this teed up thing is like, haha, yeah, you gave me a run for my money. You were difficult. You were hard. And so this fresh start in the family legacy of like, actually, we're going to see the kid that has a strong voice, that has a lot of bravery to stand on their own 2 feet, to go for what they want in life, to be very determined and full of grit. And yes, they do question authority. They do. And like true respect for them comes from like relationship, not because I said so. But it's like just a whole opportunity to like really start fresh. So with all that said, Terry, like what do you think of when you hear that? Like what comes to mind for you when we look at this subject?
Well, when you were talking about like people like seeing that like oh, you've now got one of these, it's payback or whatever. It's like that's one way to see it. It's obviously kind of more of a like kind of a jab. I mean, and just kind of this like revenge minded like thing. But I think what really unlocked for me to see having a strong-willed child in a good light was these are I don't know if it was like one person that pointed this out or if this was just a collection of like epiphanies or like things after doing some work around just how to see this situation. But it was like having a child with those character traits these are the exact character traits that you'd want them to have in a young adult and an adult. It was just really inconvenient to have them as a toddler.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
So once I saw it like that, it's like all of these things. And of course, there's also just things that are just nonsensical where you're like, okay, why are we having to go through this right now? I just want this to be a simple day and, kid won't go from A to B, and you don't see how that would help
yeah.
even in an
Stella
adult. But I
Stella
think,
will spend more time arguing sometimes about it. It would have taken like 3 minutes sometimes to do it, and she'll spend more time.
yeah.
And you're like, why?
So the specific situations don't always like make a one for one of like, oh yeah, when they're an adult and they act like that, that's going to be a great thing. But I think it's more like looking at the personality in general, the personality that is more likely to kind of question everything, want to see it from all sides, wants to have a voice and some power at the table, isn't going to be easily convinced or into something, especially if they just want, they have something in their head of like, no, I kind of want to do it this way. Like these were all things that once reframed and seen as like these beautiful characteristics that you'd want in a young woman or young man. um then all of a sudden I was able to like just kind of let go a little bit of this expectation that it had to be like instant like obedience or instant like has to be my way, and this kid just somehow needs to like fold their cards and not have a seat at the table in any of the decision making. It's like, okay, this is just inconvenient to have as a toddler because you're going to have to maybe spend a little bit more time when leaving the park, or you're going to need to explain things a little bit more because you've got this like very curious kid that wants to know why a lot or how come this, or So, I think to your point is like, yeah, society has painted this picture of like these quiet kids that don't really make much noise, that just kind of like go perfectly with whatever your flow is. Um, yeah, great. If that's what you've got, okay. But like, I think
And
society
they do have such
also,
blessings. They add such beauty to the world. Like, I make an analogy in the book that those are like the orchids of the world. We need orchids, but the cactus kids, like, we need cacti too, you know?
yeah.
We need them
And
both.
not to say that like there isn't a way, that there is definitely a way to peace in the home with a cactus kid, but some people, some voices in your world, our world was also like, hey, you can make them into one of the, like, you want to make them
Yeah.
into a quiet kid, you want to make them into this, you want to make them, and it was like, and that has been one way that people have done that over the years, and it's heartbreaking to us. And I think there was something that tugged on our heart that said, no, we don't want to do it that way. And once you make that decision, then it's about, honoring both yourself and the child in how you're going to like step forward. And I think it's at times it just requires more patience. At
And
times,
confidence, because you have to become
yeah.
very good at saying no with detachment and compassion. And that is a skill set that is beautiful to build
Well,
in the world.
that's a good point that you say there, because it's like I think some people that might be like early and like this, like, well, what is this all about? I've got a strong-willed kid, so wait, so you're not going to like kind of air quotes
Yeah.
break their will or whatever, like, so do you just end up saying yes to everything? It's like,
Yeah,
no,
no.
actually we
Yeah.
probably say no more than most parents, but
Okay.
it's you're going to get the question of like, why not? And it's like, okay, do you have the patience to hang in there, to explain the why nots, or to like explain it all the way through, or to have them feel a little less than like awesome about, whatever the decision is, or when you have to leave, or, all those things. It's definitely not a permissive standpoint. It's more of like there's a lot of education that happens in these, you can end up talking to your kid a lot.
Yeah.
So
You educate, you
like
become a teacher. You
you've
truly become
got
a teacher.
but you have to reframe how you look at this kid in order to like, um, to go through it in a way that you're like, they're just naturally curious. They want to feel power. Um, and it can feel as an adult really inconvenient when it's in the form of a toddler, but just picture this grown adult that's got just this like, I mean, they're world changers, they're game changers. It's like, everybody wants people that are going to change the world for the better, or to like do great things. And great things don't happen with people that are just kind of like shoot for the middle, or like just wait around to be told what to do.
And those people serve a great purpose. Like, they really do.
Sure,
They really do.
sure. Well, they're all blessings. But
Teams,
for
yeah.
the exercise of this, we're trying to help you see that this toddler that you're thinking is strong-willed, they're a game changer, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
So,
and we do have listeners with kids of all ages, right? So like whether it's a toddler, or adolescents, young teen, like I think especially when you have multiple kids, you know the ones in the family that are just a little bit more likely to be like, no. Like those are the kids we're talking about. And again, some of them are like just in a power surges stage of life, and like that's, we're looking at it from the same lens, whether the kids that are truly strong-willed or the kids in power surge stages of life, but it's all healthy, it's all good. So I'll tell two stories here real quick, because I think it represents it well. And the first one I'll tee up and see if you remember this. I know you do, but I want to hear like what your memory is, because that's what's so fun about writing the book. It was like 15 years of my memory of like, and thank God, because of Fresh Start Family, and we've created over 150 lessons that live inside of our Fresh Start Family educational programs and the Fresh Start experience. I was able to go back and reference to remember all these stories, but it's just cool to like stack all the collections of stories and be like, wow, 15 years. But One of the sad ones was we, at that time when Stella was little, and we were like, what the F is happening? Like, this kid is crazy. Someone tell us what to do. We were knee deep in the evangelical world, and people just were coming out of the woodworks to tell us, like, oh, just hit him, just whether it was my boss or and their family, or it was, I remember this neighbor that lived across the street who was like the sweetest family. He owned like a surf shop, and like she was so sweet, and we were like, oh, these are like our people, because we were in the surf industry too. And then come to find out that they were like, I guess looking back now, they were entrenched in this creepy Christian world that really thought that what they were doing was godly. And so they were like, here, you just need to get this book off Amazon. It's a Christian book, and it'll teach you how to take a switch or like a branch from the backyard. It has to be thin. It could be a piece of plastic, and it's written by a Christian author, so it's Christian. And they were like, yeah, you just hit the kid every time they misbehave. I don't know if were you there for that conversation, or was it just me and the neighbor?
I remember you telling it to me,
Okay,
so
then
it
it
must
must
have
have just
been
been
it
me.
must have been you two. But I remember him being like, he was like all excited to like show us his like stick and stuff like that. And I remember,
Well,
well, this was after I think you had the conversation with them, and so we were like, hell no, which
but yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
we were exploring lots of different options at that point. That
Yeah,
being one, I remember hot sauce like
that was,
was
yep, a
was
work
in, so
colleague.
we were at a breaking point, or whatever. We were at a some sort of point where we were like looking for like what's the path forward.
Yeah, because it felt so scary, and like we just didn't have this education yet. So, anyways, he told us all this stuff. We did not order that Amazon book. I think our internal intuition and moral compass was like, that's something's off here. Like, that does not feel Christian. So, anyways, I remember the day, and again, I think I was alone. I think you were at work, but I had invited his two girls over. They were like, I'm gonna say like 9 and 7, and I was like, come hang out in the hot tub." Like, I was by that point, I think I was home full time with the kids, and we would come hang out in the hot tub. Stella was probably like 4, and I'll never forget that older girl who he had told us, "We used this strategy, and it successfully broke her will. We did it. She was sassy, she was disobedient as a toddler. We used this tactic, it worked so well." I remember her coming over, and like the way she could not look in your eyes. Do you remember that one
Yeah,
about the
she
older one?
she felt like it was robotic. Yeah.
And she had a sunburn on her nose. And I was like, oh no. And it was peeling really bad. And I was like, oh no, sweet girl. I'm like, did you get sunburn? And I remember she just like looked down and was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh gosh, does it hurt? And she just could not look me in the eye. She was so, I could just feel it because I'm an empath. She was so freaking ashamed of this sunburn. And I just remember in that moment knowing intuitively, like, holy shit, I am never going to do that to my child. And it was like the way she carried herself was so sad. Like the what it does to a child to like to fill them with this concept of like, oh, you are a problem. Your strong will's a problem. I'm going to hurt and harm you, and then tee it up as godly love. Like, it was just so heartbreaking to witness. So that is an example of that type of teaching, as Terry mentioned, like, oh, the world, culture, people, right? Like, I know those of you listening, like many of you have circles or had people, whether it's your mother-in-law or a cousin or a sister, really tell you like you need to get charge of it. You need to take charge of this kid. Okay, so different story. Fast forward, we have a million stories about Stella, but since we were just talking about this morning, Terry, let's highlight some of the drumstick stories. So Terry and I, we recently just booked tickets to go to Ireland again to see two of our favorite bands, Metallica and Pantera. We had also taken the kids to see Metallica at a castle in Ireland. We got to see so many of my family members that we had never met before, like our family farm, all the things. But that was back when Stella was 10 and Taryn was 7, and it was one of the best memories of our life. And Stella had made this sign. She had decided, she found out that the drummer of Metallica throws out sticks and drumsticks, and she was like, I want to catch one of these drumsticks. It was a show of 75,000 people, and her dad and I were like, hell yeah, if you want that, you like this. By that point, we had learned, okay, this kid has a dream. She is strong-willed. She wants to go for it. Cool. Let's support her. Help her make the sign. She carried the sign 6,000 miles on this airplane. She gets to this concert. her and daddy are like, okay, let's push our way to the front of the pit. They get to the front. Taryn, her little brother, who is like the more chill, mild child, he was like, hell no, mom, I don't want to be in this pit. And him and I got to go to the side and watch from the side. It was such a beautiful show. But we see Terry and Stella coming out, and Stella, like above her head, has the drumstick. And it was just this wild thing of like, oh my gosh, this child walked into a crowd of 70. She said, I want to get it. She walked into a crowd of 75,000 people together with her dad's support. And in case you don't know, our daughter is a drummer. Like, our daughter is a very proficient drummer. That's why this all went down. But that's actually not the story I want to tell. That's story A, okay? It was this amazing moment. It was so much fun. That trip was the trip of a lifetime. So this year, Stella graduates from high school. She's turning 18 years old. We booked the trip again to go see the same band, but they're playing with our second favorite band. But Terry and Stella recently went to New York City, and you guys go see a lot of concerts. It's one of the ways that you guys bond and just create this most special relationship. But you went to see the band Korn and who they play with? Lamb of God?
System of a
System
Down.
of a Down. That's right. It was System of a Down. Who headlined System of a Down, right? Okay. But it was the Korn. Okay. Right? It was a corn stick.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I tell this story is same thing happened again. And Stella's like, hey, Dad, why don't we try to get this stick, right? So Stella, and so the reason why I'm saying this is because this is a different story that what Terry, what you were saying about, these are the things that it's gonna like make me emotional. That you want your child to have when they grow up. Like, that's one of the things is I want my daughter to not take shit. Like, I want her to be able to protect herself and to say no. Like, to be like, no, I will not let you disrespect me. I will not let you take something of mine. I will not let you touch me in an appropriate way. Like, and we know the story of like Elizabeth Smart, which I do think I mentioned her story in the book too. She was kidnapped from her bedroom when she was like 13 years old in Utah or something. And her dad, when he spoke on panels, her and her dad would tour the nation. They might even still tour the nation, educating people. And he said, and he spoke on a panel with my parenting educator, Susie Walton, and she said that he had said one day, that's one of my biggest regrets, is thinking that I had to make my child submit to authority. And essentially what he was saying is like, break her will. Like, that's one of my biggest regrets in life. I wish I would have taught her to stand up for herself, and that her strong will and her ability to say no was actually a gift. So anyways, so back to New York City, Terry and Stella are at the show, and Korn, the drummer from Korn, throws this stick, and Stella, with her strong will, is like, hell yes, grabs the stick, and it like drops to the floor, right? And then, Terry, I'll let you tell it since you were there, but like, tell us what happened where you saw your daughter, like, not just submit, but instead stand her ground. And I know it's just a drumstick, but it's so meaningful to me because, like, it just represents so much of, like, why I wanted my daughter to, like, not take shit in the world. So I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, so this drumstick ends up on the ground and she grabs it. She gets down like on the ground. I'm kind of like back people up behind me to give her space to do that. And it's like, it's a full, like, kind of savage moment. It just is. I knew she could handle herself, especially if I just kind of like gave her a little bit of space. So she's,
Which I love. Pause there, because that's what happens when you raise a child, to teach them how to stand their own ground and, like, physically also represent them well, is like you just believe in them.
yeah.
Like she can handle, like, she's not submissive. Like, she's gonna handle this. So go ahead.
So yeah, so she ends up on the ground and she grabs the drumstick. I can tell she has it, but then like other people have their hands on it too. She's clearly not letting go. Um, Whatever hands were on it, like a couple of them let go, and it just ends up being her and one other guy, like
Full grown man, right?
full grown
Trying
man
to wrestle a freaking stick.
trying to take a stick from her
A teenager.
on the ground. She's now yelling at him and saying like, she was like, it's mine, I've got it, let go. She said things like, I'm a drummer, let me have it.
Yeah,
like,
you
let go.
the
Like
way you were describing it was like this primal, like
she was like yelling. I could tell she was like, and once I saw that it was like a tug of war with her and that guy, I kind of like, I definitely did make it like uncomfortable for that guy to be pulling. So I like moved in his way and like put my arm around like what would have been his arm to like so that if he pulled it away from her, like basically the stick wouldn't go through me, but I still let her kind of like handle it. And like, I
what
mean,
type of grown man tries to take a
I
stick
don't
from a
know.
teenager, right?
But she barked loud enough. And then it also like you see people around us too that basically were like, let her have it. Like, it
Yeah.
but she didn't give up. I knew that there was no way she was letting go of that thing and there's no way she was giving up. And eventually the dude let go
Walked away.
and yeah, and she got it and she was definitely shook, but like it's one of those things that you just see like, oh my gosh, like this this kid will not back down when there's something that she
Yeah.
wants. And it represents a lot. And I think, that's where you're going with it is like there's a lot of fight in these kids. And I think parents early on, they think that that fight's against them. It's really not. It's not against you. It just means that that kid's got a fire in them and it's going to serve them well in life when they have something that they really want. In this situation, that was representative in a drumstick that she had her hands on that she wasn't going to let go of. That thing can be a dream. That thing can be their own safety. That thing can be, um,
Fight
so
against injustice.
injustice. That thing can be sticking up for a friend. That can be, yeah, like that can be so many
Trying to
things,
be a D1 athlete in
so
college,
many
like
things. But I was like, dang, Stella's a badass. And I wasn't gonna let her get hurt, or I probably wasn't gonna let that person walk away with the stick either. But I think letting her do it, I knew that there was no better person in that moment to fight for that stick than her.
yeah. And yesterday, I was Taryn wanted to paint his room. Kids both got some Christmas presents around their room. I helped Taryn repaint his room. We both did. But then what did you do with Stella or her room?
So we have that Metallica drumstick from 2019 in like a shadow box um, that we had on the wall downstairs. We're going to put it in her room next to a framed album. And then yesterday we were gathering together the corn drumstick to frame in a shadow box on the other side of her bed, kind of a matching like album drumstick and like our like concert pass for the day. So just like a memento to hang on the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
But she's got these two drumsticks from these two major bands. Uh, the Metallica show, I don't know exactly. I know you said 75,000, but I think it was close to 90,000. And same thing with the System
And
of a
he
Down and Corn show was sold out. MetLife Stadium, I think it was 85, 90,000 people. So out of all those people,
and they hand out like Lars probably gave like what he threw 10 out at the concert in Ireland.
if that,
8 maybe. And what about Corn that night? 8, 5?
less than 10, yeah.
Less than
A
10
few.
out of
A
75,000.
few,
Like,
they're the drumsticks they played with. So like the
right.
one that she had in her hands, it was all chipped up and splintered. I held it after she got it. She wanted me to put it in my pocket. It cut me because
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so splintered up. So yeah, the drumsticks they play with, there's not that many. Yeah,
Yeah.
a few.
It's just so, so good. It's like it's just a great representation of their will is wild. It is wild to watch, it is wild to witness, and yeah, sometimes it really can feel inconvenient, but if you just can stay in touch with mentoring it well and building them up to be the kind of leaders that we need more in the world, not less, like the type that you're simultaneously building up their like need to feel powerful and affirming that and letting them know also like building their empathy, compassion, understanding other people's viewpoints, peaceful conflict resolution, the ability to bend with parameters, even though that is the skill set that is like not as easy for them. It just creates this like real cool, amazing human. And it's just so different, right? Like we know that if her brother was in that situation, like he just would be like, it's not that big of a deal to me. Like I'm cool with just like I'm fine if somebody else gets it. Like that's his superpower. Is he's like, you know what? Let them have it. I'm cool with that. Like I'm still gonna have a blast, but it's he just his his focus in life is just so much different, you know? And so it's just you can see the real clear difference there. And both are uniquely gifted and perfectly, beautifully created by God in just different ways. So amazing. Well, Terry, thank you for being here with me today. Fun to just kind of revisit the concept of seeing a strong-willed child in this healthy, light-filled way, and just what it looks like to raise a cactus kid with integrity and dignity, connection, and great relationship.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
All right, listeners, thanks so much. We'll see you in the next episode.